I'm going to be reading a book for the Bone Along. I would love that money, but also murder? I'm not so sure about that part. All I know is everybody on booktube is in love with Aaron Blackford, the most beautiful book in all the world. And I was asked to talk about this book and read it and talk about my feelings because I'm always so controversial. I'm Rachel, this is Let Me in the Library, and today we're going to talk all about my January TBR and my January plans, just in general. First off, we are going to do my regular dice game. I do a monthly TBR dice game where I roll some dice, and that helps me determine what it is that I should read. So we are going to jump right into the footage for that, and then I will explain what it is that I'll be reading with all of the rolls that I got. I'm ready to roll. Let's do it. Okay, so we have a 6, an 8, 2 11s, an 18, and a 20. I'm probably gonna try to fix this so that this is not... I want 2 11s, so I'm gonna roll my 4-sided dice here and do that. Alright, so I got a 2, so that means that I can move this up or down by 2. So this could become a 13 or a 9. Okay, so welcome back from looking at all those rolls. So you will see that I got a 6, which is a mood read, an 8, which is an owned TBR, a 9 that I switched a roll to for romance, an 11 for the A to Z generator, got an 18, which is to read a graphic novel, and the last one I got was a 20 to read my most anticipated read. So let's go through what all those are for me. First thing that I got was a 6, which is for a mood read, and I'm going to be reading Finlay Donovan is Killing It. I've been in a mood for something that's just kind of fun, but definitely has like an edge to it, if that makes sense. So this is a story about a woman who was recently divorced. She found out that her husband was cheating on her with the real estate agent, and he is threatening to take their kids away because she doesn't have enough money to take care of things, and she has to constantly rely on him to help pay for things. And she is an author, and she writes romance stories, but they have like murder mystery edges to them. So at one point she's in a cafe talking with her editor or her agent or something about the book that's coming up, and she just says something like, oh, the last murders that I did, they were really intense, but I usually like to keep things very clean, and it's going to be really hard to figure out what to do with this next one. And the other person is like, oh, well, I'm sure you'll kill it with this one, and then we'll get your next advance. But so basically they're not quite talking about the fact that they're talking about a book, and somebody overhears this conversation and slips Finlay Donovan a note that kind of says, hey, I would love it if you would kill my husband, and I'll give you $50,000. So Finlay Donovan is in a situation where she's like, I would love that money, but also murder? I'm not so sure about that part. So she has to, figure out what to do in this situation, if she should accept the money and maybe go after this guy, or if she should turn it down, maybe do something in between. So I think it's kind of considered to be sort of a comedy, but still, it has that edge to it. So next, I got an 8, which is to read something off of my owned TBR. So I figured I would pick up this book because I need to read it for a live show, and I bought it about a year ago, and that is The 12 Dates of Christmas. I have to read this for my own book club, which is the Liars Book Club. We're discussing it on my channel, so I have to hurry up and read it. We're going to be discussing it on, I think, January 3rd, which is very soon, and I have not started this book yet. But this is about a girl who goes on 12 dates. I believe they're all like blind dates, and each one is progressively worse than the last, and hopefully she can find love sometime around Christmas time. I heard that there's a guy in this that everybody hates, so I don't know how I'm going to feel about this book, but I think it's going to be a very lively discussion. We're going to have at least one person who loves it and one person who hates it, so it's going to be a lot of fun to discuss with everybody, at least. Next thing that I have is a 9, which is my romance, and you've seen this book on a TBR many times before, and that is The Spanish Love Deception. This is finally the time I've decided I'm going to read it. I have been meaning to read this for the longest time. It is a fake dating travel romance story about a woman who has to fake date her coworker, who is her rival at work, in order to not appear to be like single and lonely and stuff at her sister's wedding. So this guy agrees to go with her, and I think he's secretly been in love with her the whole time or something, but all I know is everybody on booktube is in love with Aaron Blackford. I don't know if I will be. I'll be very curious to see what I think of this book, but this is Casey's copy. I'm very grateful that she lent it to me, but I'm ready to finally read it and give it back because I've been holding onto it for way too long, and I'm just ready to go for it. I'm ready to go for it. Okay, the next thing I got was an 11, which is the random A to Z generator. So I have a wheel that I just spun that gave me a random letter, and it generated a Z, and this kind of stumped me for a little while until I realized, oh, what starts with Z? 0. And what is a book that starts with 0? Zero-Sum Game, which is a book I very recently received from my dear friend Nicole Lee. And so this is a story about a girl who is like, I think she's super enhanced. I don't know if it's in a video game or just in general, but she is the perfect retriever. So she can she's super strong. She can defeat people who are like twice her size and everything. But she realizes that people can twist other people's minds. So she starts to wonder if the thoughts that she has are even her own. So in the effort to take down whoever's doing this, I assume it's gonna like reveal like, oh my god, this was happening all along. And I love those kinds of stories, so I think it's gonna be really fun. It has been compared to some stuff with The Matrix, which I actually never watched. But I'm excited to just see what this book has in store. Okay, the next thing I got was an 18, which is to read a graphic novel, and I'm going to be reading Day Tripper. This is Noelle's favorite book ever, and I decided it's finally time for me to read it. It's been on TBRs for long enough, and I'm trying to get through my TBR veterans, so Day Tripper is a story about life, and I think there's a guy who kind of like relives versions of his life, like different alternate versions of his life of like, what if I did this differently or that differently, and it should speak very well to the many doubts and the many questions that we have of what if I had ever done anything in my life differently, where would I be today? So it feels very Midnight Library-esque. I hope I'm correct with this description about this book, but I never read it before. I'm hoping that it is everything that I have ever dreamed of, and I hope it's a wonderful book. The last thing that I got was a 20, which is to read my most anticipated book, and I'm very, very excited about this because I received an ARC for something that I'm so excited about. It comes out very quickly on January 4th, but I've been also meaning to read books that are ebooks, so this also works out for that. But I got Where the Drowned Girls Go, and this is an advanced reader copy of the 6th book, I believe, or the 7th book? I always forget. In the Wayward Children series. I blew through the Wayward Children series in like the last 2 weeks or something like that. I just read all of them in a row, and they were so good, and I loved them so much. And so this one follows a character that we meet, I think, in book 3, named Cora. And she's basically like a mermaid, and she wants to return to her sea, the place that she lived before this, where the drowned gods live. And so in this book, there's actually an alternative school to the one that was introduced in the other books. Eleanor West's Wayward School for Children is supposed to be the place where like all the kids go, have been on adventures and want to return to them. So it's kind of like, you know, if there was like an Alice in Wonderland character who wants to live in Wonderland but was pulled back to reality and just is interested in going back to Wonderland, that type of character, those are the people that live at Eleanor West's school. And so it's kind of like a boarding school situation. But now this other school enters the scene, and it's much more strict. There are very particular rules there, and I believe Cora ends up in that situation instead. So it's definitely not the direction that I initially thought it was going in, but I love school settings. I love, like, you know, all those kind of things of breaking those like really rigid structures and trying to understand what's really going on here. And I also love mermaids. So awesome. I'm so excited to read that book. And that basically concludes my dice game portion of this TBR. I have some book clubs to talk about. I have a readathon that I'm going to be participating in, some buddy reads, and some extra books. In general, I'm trying not to go too wild with adding so many things to my TBR, because right now I'm at a very nice 6 books. But that is about to change because, you know, I have more things to discuss, but let's get into it. So the Writers Book Club is also going to be reading The Vanishing Half for January. We're going to do our live show on Sasha's channel, and I have definitely been wanting to read The Vanishing Half. Everybody says that it is a book that has stuck with them, and I'm quite excited about it. This is a story about 2 twin sisters who grew up together, but in the age of 16 they ran away, and they are identical twins, but one of them chooses to continue living her life as a young black woman, but because they're both white passing, the other sister decides to live her life as a white woman, and she ends up getting married to a white husband, and he has no idea of her past or anything that she's been through. And eventually the daughters of these 2 sisters meet and their lives intertwine. So it definitely sounds like a very interesting story about identity and maybe thinking about the parts of ourselves that we hide because the world doesn't always treat them very well, and also what we miss out by not truly embracing who we are. That's my prediction, at least. So I really hope that that one is a great one. The 20-something book club had a book for December. I don't think they've done their live show yet, so hopefully I can squeeze this in. But I am trying to read The Last True Poets of the Sea. I was gifted this copy by Molly, and I've really been wanting to read it. This is about 2 siblings whose grandmother founded this town called Lyric in Maine, and the sister of this duo is always partying with the wrong people, and the brother, who always seemed to have it together and he had like the best possible life, tried to take his own life. So they are sent to go live in Lyric, Maine, which is the town that their grandma founded, and hopefully find themselves. And along the way, they also are very curious about this shipwreck, because that was the ship that the grandmother was on, and she escaped from that ship as it was getting wrecked, and she founded the island right after that. So there's always been rumors of that ship, and they've always dreamed of kind of discovering it, but along the way, there's also a sense of self-discovery of who we really are as people. So that is the first 20-something book club book. The other one is Of Women in Salt, and that one I don't know the premise for, so I'm going to read it off of Goodreads. In present-day Miami, Jeanette is battling addiction. Daughter of Carmen, a Cuban immigrant, she is determined to learn more about her family history from her reticent mother and makes a snap decision to take in the daughter of a neighbor detained by ICE. Carmen, still wrestling with the trauma of displacement, must process her difficult relationship with her own mother while trying to raise a wayward Jeanette. Steadfast in her quest for understanding, Jeanette travels to Cuba to see her grandmother and reckon with secrets from the past destined to erupt. Super exciting news. I can't wait to do this, but I'm going to be reading a book for the Bone Along. That's not the official name, but it just sounds better to me. It is the Green Bones Saga Along that I was invited to be a host for one of the live shows. So Mel from Mel Reads and Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin are going to be on the show as well, and I'm going to be reading Jade City. This is a book that absolutely everybody seems to adore as soon as they pick it up and they read it and they love it. So I'm going to be reading this because we're having a live show to discuss it on January 29th. Everybody loves this book, so I'll either cry or love it or hate it or who knows what. So I can't wait to read this and finally join in on the hype. I think I also will be buddy reading this with Yasmin from Yasmin Be Readin'. So Yasmin, let me know, because I think, yeah, she messaged me this morning, like, are we gonna read this or what? And we're gonna read this for sure. All right, so I also have the Fantasy Series book club. I actually did already read the book for this, but I still want to plug it. So we are reading the Bridge Kingdom series. We are reading the Traitor Queen in January, but we're doing our live shows for all that stuff very soon. So the Bridge Kingdom book, which is the first book, we're going to do our live show on January 9th. I think we're going to have reading sprints at some point before that. And the Traitor Queen is the sequel. I think there are technically 3 books out now, but the third one is only an Audible book and won't be released to the public right away. So we're actually going to just stop the series right there. But we are basically, again, at that point where we need to vote on the next series that we need to read. So please go check out the Discord and vote for the book that you want, or the series that you want for us to pick up next for our next fantasy series. There is also a brand new book club that was just announced, the Antisocial Book Club. Look at this icon. It's gorgeous. It was created by the gorgeous Stephanie Bookish. It is fantastic. And also this is a book club that is hosted by Molly. So I'm very excited to participate in this book club. Their first book is the Atlas 6, and this is a competition magician style thing. The last time that I read a book with magicians competing, it didn't really go well, but I'm really hoping that this is a good one. I think that this one is almost like you have to compete to the death, and only 6 magicians that are at the very top will be selected to be a part of this whole thing, where like those magicians on top are like the most elite. They get whatever they want. Their whole lives are perfect. So these, you know, people have to compete, but of those 6, 5 will survive and 1 will be sacrificed. So who knows? Anything could happen. And it sounds great. So I'm excited to read that. And I also am hoping, against hope, to be able to get to the Sugar and Spice book club pick that I'm supposed to be a part of, which is Homecoming King. And this is about a guy who has a lot of failed relationships, but all of the women that he dates end up marrying the guy that they date right after him. So he kind of feels like, oh my god, is it my fault? Like, what's going on? And then there also is a girl who has been in love with him, but he doesn't recognize her, and he is like totally drunk, and she kind of is in a situation where she feels like, I kind of have you at an advantage because you don't know who I am, but like, can we date? I don't know. So it's supposed to be cute for the 2 of them together. It's a Penny Read book, and the live show for that is going to be on January 5th or 6th, I believe. So gotta get a move on that one as well. Okay, let's quickly talk about the Treat Yourself Readathon. So this is happening right now, this week, for the very first week of January, and the Treat Yourself Readathon is hosted by my dear friends Mafalda and Casey, and they have put together this little week with a bingo board to basically get you to read some books, have a good time, just chill out, treat yourself. So the one, I think it's the second row, which is to read a 5-star prediction, post a picture of your TBR, read one of the host's favorite books, and also to reread a childhood favorite of yours. So I'm hoping that this is a 5-star for me, but Year of the Witching, I've been trying to read this for like 2 months, and I'm ready to just finish it up and get it done, but I'm really enjoying this. This is about a young woman named Emmanuelle, and she is kind of the outcast in the cult that she lives in, but her mother was basically like, she was betrothed to the prophet, which speaks to the father, which is their figurehead, like the god of their society or whatever, and she ended up actually trying to kill the prophet, so her daughter was not treated the same as everybody else, and the mother ended up like fleeing into the dark woods, and it was very strange. So people were like, oh my god, there's something obviously wrong with the daughter then, so she's always outcast, but of course, traveling into the dark woods against everybody's, warnings, she does discover some things there, and it leads her down the path of discovery of that maybe the things going on in this cult are not so good, maybe there are curses or things that she needs to stop from happening. So I love cultish settings of like religious cults. I think they're very, very interesting to me, and I can't wait to see where this book goes, and I really hope it's a 5-star prediction. The host favorite, I'll be reading The Spanish Love Deception. This is Casey's copy. It's Casey's, one of her favorite books, at least, so definitely gonna be reading this as well. And for a childhood favorite, I don't want to like really go through a middle grade book that I already read, basically a series of unfortunate events. I'm not going to do that right now. Instead, I think that I will be just picking up a manga that I used to read all the time when I was in high school, and I still talk about it all the time, but I would love to just pick up the next volume in my reread of Case Closed, which is volume 21. I read these all the time in high school, and they would freak me out, and I would go to sleep, and I'd just like not be able to sleep because they were so scary, but they're fine. They're fun. I have fun with them. So let's talk some more about buddy reads. So I have 2 of my favorite books of last year, and I am going to reread them with my dear friend Nicole. I sent her some of these books for her birthday, and she just said, let's buddy read them together. Let's read them together in January. So this is the perfect time to do that. So one of those is Fox 8. I've been talking about this a lot recently on live shows, but this is a very, very short book, and it's about a fox who learns the human language by just listening to humans talk, and he really kind of like romanticizes them and idolizes them and thinks that they're really wonderful. The writing in here is very phonetic because he doesn't actually know how to spell English words, but he does, try to interpret it from what he's hearing. But over time, this very wholesome story kind of has a bit of an edge to it because he starts to realize that humans don't always treat animals super great. So it does have some animal abuse in it, which is very sad. And this book had me laughing and then crying, and it was very hard-hitting, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it was so short. It's less than 50 pages, and it's a 5-star all around. Speaking of 5 stars, basically my favorite book of last year, which like blew me away and I can't wait to reread it again, is The Paper Menagerie. And this is a short story collection by Ken Liu. Ken Liu is one of my favorite authors ever now, and this is a collection of sci-fi and fantasy stories which have a lot of Asian culture built into it. So really, really looking forward to rereading this with Nicole and discussing all of the stories in here. And the last book that we are buddy reading, I cannot wait. The most beautiful book in all the world. It's Sleeping Giants. We're going to be buddy reading my favorite book. We're buddy reading Sleeping Giants. Yes! I can't wait. I'm so happy. I sent a copy to Nicole and girl, we're gonna be reading this. It's gonna be so good. This is a story about a young girl named Rose Franklin who drove around on her bicycle and ended up falling in a hole, and she landed in this gigantic metal palm of a hand, and this hand became a very strange point of contention, so a lot of scientists began studying it, and when she grew up, she became the scientist that headed the team trying to figure out what the deal is with this hand. And soon enough, they find other body parts, and they're all buried deep in the earth. But the very strange thing is, these are not old ancient things that previous civilizations on Earth would have made. They definitely seem to be very foreign and very strange, maybe not of this world. So it's a really wonderful story. I love it so much. It is a great sci-fi, and it is all an epistolary novel, so it is written in interviews and like snippets from the news, and it's so much fun. I love it so much. Fantastic. I don't own it physically because I literally think the audiobook is that top tier. That is the best way to consume this book. I love it. It's fantastic. I can't wait. Okay, I'm also going to be buddy reading Shipped with Mo from the Roomies Digest. Shipped is a cute romance story of these two coworkers who I think have to go on a cruise together and figure out some kind of deal or proposal for their workplace and inevitably end up falling in love. I heard that this is kind of like the upgraded version of the Unhoneymooners. I don't know how that's possible. I love the Unhoneymooners, but I'm very interested to see what that's all about. I only have 2 more books to talk about, some extras here. The first one is Behind Her Eyes. I was recommended this book during Reader Cheer. So this is about a woman who kisses this guy at a bar, and the next day she finds out that that guy is actually her boss, and he's married also. So she's like, yikes. Whoops. And then she ends up meeting the wife, and she's like, whoa. But the thing is, it's strange because they seem like the perfect couple. This gets me so excited because this is exactly like the kind of stuff that I love. It seems like they're the perfect couple, but the guy is really demanding and the woman is afraid of him. So she's like, maybe this isn't the most perfect marriage. So now that she's kind of like involved in the middle of this because she kissed the guy, she's like, I gotta figure out this whole mess. So people are always talking about the ending of this book. I am very curious as to why, and I was asked to talk about this book and read it and talk about my feelings because I'm always so controversial, so I'm excited to read this one as well. And I also want to read one more book, and that is When You Get the Chance. So I was very lucky enough to win this in a Goodreads giveaway, and it's actually an advanced reader copy. This book comes out January 4th, so this is definitely something I need to get to very quickly, but this is by Emma Lord, who wrote Tweet Cute, and I really, really enjoyed that last year. Let me read the back to you. Okay. Nothing will get in the way of Millie Price's dream of becoming a Broadway star. Not her lovable but super introverted dad, not her drama club rival Oliver, who's the very definition of simmering romantic tension, and not her Millie moods, the feelings of intense emotion that threaten to overwhelm. Millie needs an ally, and when an accidentally left open browser brings Millie to her dad's live journal from 2003, oh, woof, Millie knows just what to do. Find her mom. But how can you find a new part of your life and expect it to fit into your old one without leaving any marks? And why is it that when you go looking for the past, it somehow keeps bringing you back to what you'd had all along? Mother-daughter stories always get to me, and I love Broadway as well, so I think that this might be right up my alley. I really hope I enjoy it, but I think it'll just overall be a really great story. So looking forward to this one as well. That is it for the book portion of what I'm talking about here. I just wanted to also quickly talk about what else is going on in my life. So I recently got a new job. Very exciting for me. I quit my old job a couple weeks ago, and my last day was like 2 days ago. So I started my new job technically on New Year's Eve, but I'm starting like more officially this week. Because I am starting this new job, it is much more hands-on. I'll have to be in a lot of video calls and talking with people, so I just generally think I'm going to be very exhausted after a long day's work, and I probably will not have as much time to read as much as I did last year or the year before or the year before that. So I am going to try to take it easy on myself and not commit to way too many books. I just know I'm not going to have that much time, and I don't want to hold myself to an unrealistic standard. That is the way that I am living my life in 2022. Also, actually going to be traveling for work. I'm going to be going on a business trip, so I figured that I would take a book with me and do kind of the same thing that I did with Priory, where I would make it a whole challenge. I'm gonna have to read Jade City for the live show, so I don't necessarily think that that is the one that I will be like racing to finish, and if I don't finish it in time I have to give something away. It's more like if I don't finish it I'm gonna look stupid in front of all these people on a live show, so I'm not gonna do that. What would be a good book? Every time we touch. random, but I also just want to watch K-dramas this month. I don't watch K-dramas normally, but I want to get into them. I know that's going to severely hinder my reading, but I watched one episode of Goblin and I'm obsessed with it, and I've only seen one episode still, so I'm dying to watch that, and I think that that would be a very self-care, treat yourself type of thing for me, so I'm probably gonna be doing that. I'll also be vlogging some other stuff like the Treat Yourself Readathon. I have another vlog that I've been working on for a really long time that I'm really trying to get out to you very soon this month. That is my little update on what I'm doing regarding like my 2022 goals and what's up with that. I will be having a video out very soon to you that has all of my 2022 goals, as well as some other things I've been working on for a while that are technically a secret, I guess, but I'm really looking forward to getting that stuff out to you, and if you don't want to miss it, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because that's how you don't miss things. That's how YouTube works. You know that. So smash that like button. And thank you so much for watching. That was really embarrassing. I'm so sorry I did that. I'm so sorry. Oh my god. These are all those books that I am super excited to be reading for January. I really hope that I can get to them all, and I cannot wait to read some of these. Some of them are rereads, some of them are not rereads, but I think they're all going to be fantastic and a lot of fun and provoke a lot of really interesting conversations, even if they're not like my favorite book ever, 12 Days of Christmas, but I still think it'll be a lot of fun. So definitely let me know what it is that you are most excited to read in January. If you have any stuff coming up in January of 2022, any fun things that you're going to be picking up, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And that's it from me. I'm Rachel. This is Let Me in the Library, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Whoa.